For the 8th time in my life, I am heading to WWE Summerslam. Cleveland, Ohio, here we come. What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watch Along Wrestling. I got a little extra pep in my step. I'm strutting like the nature boy, and I am ready for SummerSlam 2024. I am going to be heading out tomorrow out of Long Island, New York to get to SummerSlam weekend. And I'm excited. I'm all pumped up. For the second straight year, I'll be heading to Cleveland, Ohio. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a second, Tots. Last year, SummerSlam wasn't in Cleveland. It was in Detroit. And you'd be right, but shame on you, because that means you never watched my vlog from last year. So I will go ahead and I'll put that right in the description so you can check out last year's SummerSlam vlog. We had a great time in Detroit. It was a pleasure to be there as someone who just missed out on WrestleMania 23 at Ford Field back in 2007. To be there some 16 years later was just so much fun, and it was a great time. And last year I went with kind of the Pod Street crew, if you will. It was Alex Dorio of the Talking Taker podcast, Undertaker superfan Randy Turco, and his friend Nick Fugate and his Uncle Dave. This year, kind of a similar deal, but it wasn't always that way. So I'm going to get into our itinerary of what we have planned, but before I'll give you a little backstory. So this past year, I still haven't had a full length about this. I'll do it at some point, but I was unable to get to WrestleMania, which was at the time unheard of. I've been to numerous WrestleManias, and with WrestleMania right here in kind of my backyard, not too far, about 3-hour drive of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was in the works for the longest time. But as many of you know, my wife is currently a student finishing up her doctorate degree. And so at the end of the day, unfortunately, she had just been hit with a ton of exams right after WrestleMania. And I was needed for dad duty. We have 2 beautiful kids. And so I was happy to do it, and unfortunately did miss out on WrestleMania. But in the back of my head, this was okay because I knew SummerSlam was coming up. You see, my wife didn't come to the trip last year. Last year, I was able to get there with the fellas that I just mentioned, and so she sat that trip out. But the second that the rumors started swirling about Cleveland getting SummerSlam, first off, in the official SummerSlam chat with the group I went with last year, we were all to the moon excited, but a little trepidatious. I don't think we thought there'd be any chance that SummerSlam was going to be coming back to the Midwest and to be coming to Cleveland the year after it went to Detroit. So I don't think too many of us thought that was going to be happening, but once I told my wife about it, she was all to the moon excited about it. She had missed out last year, watched the vlogs, saw the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, saw a number of the places that we had gone when we were in Cleveland, and when she heard about it, she was like, we gotta go to Cleveland. This will be our opportunity to get to go on a wrestling trip. We've gone on a wrestling trip every year since we met and since we've been together starting in 2013. So this was going to be our opportunity to make sure we got that trip in. And we were both very excited about it. She thought, okay, this will be great. I'll be able to get to some of the places we went to last year. And we'll be able to go to the NFL Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio to see the NFL Hall of Fame game. So we thought that would be like a great opportunity to do that and to turn it into a whole weekend. So that did mean that when it was officially announced that Cleveland would be getting SummerSlam, and the guys were all excited, I unfortunately had to be that guy and let them know that, my wife had talked about the idea she wanted to go, and so I was going to go ahead with her. And the trip there, the second year of the trip, was kind of put on hold for the SummerSlam group until as this SummerSlam got a little closer, and we had started the planning process. My wife and I went out and got tickets the day they went on sale. I was very stressed out during that process of sitting in the queue all day, and then wanted to make sure I got the tickets because WrestleMania tickets, when they went on sale, it was so hard to get tickets. Tickets never dropped in price. They were impossible to get on the secondary market. It was like $450 a ticket, just far too much, especially when you have 3 of us, because my daughter would have came. So we ended up bailing on WrestleMania, and it still hurts me to this day because I think it'll go down. It's remembered fondly now. I think it's going to go down as remembered as one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, specifically the 2 main events. I don't know how much about the rest of the show, but certainly I think both main events, and definitely the main event on Sunday as one of the all-timers there, with Cody getting his crowning achievement. But with that being said, unable to do that, we were ready to go for SummerSlam. And then, as is, it happens when you're in a doctoral program, my wife had found out she had a conference she had to attend So now it's kind of like, all right, well, I have an extra ticket to SummerSlam. I can flip them. I can just go ahead and put it online like the degenerate that I am. But instead, it just so happened, I mean, it was like the week before this trip for Alex Dorio and his family. My wife let me know the news, and I knew Alex was coming to town with his family. He was going to come to the big city right here in New York, the Big Apple, and we were going to spend some time together and go out and get some food, get the families together. It was going to be a good old time, and I knew that moment I'd be able to pull Alex aside and say, hey, should we go ahead and get the band back together again? That's I don't even know what accent that was. I think it was trying to do Shawn Michaels, but maybe Triple H getting DX together, so to speak. But we knew we had to turn to our friends. We had to turn to the clique, if you will, and I asked Alex if he'd be down. He was excited to do that. And at this point, we needed to see if Randy was still down and if he was still doing his trip, because Randy was already going to go to Cleveland regardless. And so we reached out to Randy and have been able to kind of piece everything together. It's really worked out. And so the SummerSlam crew is back together again. Unfortunately, Nick's not able to make the trip, but we're able to get everyone back together, and it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be so much fun, and kudos to WWE. Last year's SummerSlam, even though I was great to be back in Detroit, and it was just the idea of seeing this brand new city that I had wanted to go to for quite some time because of WrestleMania 23, that I was so excited about it, but WWE did not give you much of anything other than SummerSlam. SmackDown wasn't in town. There was nothing going on. This year, it feels like WWE is smartened up. They realize they got 50,000 people coming to SummerSlam, and it makes absolutely no sense for them to not give them anything else other than a superstore and allow other groups like GCW, WrestleCon, different groups to that extent to come in and be able to kind of satiate that appetite that fans have for wrestling. So now, if you want, you can spend your entire weekend doing nonstop WWE activities. They have put so many cool things on the itinerary for you. In addition to SmackDown. So SmackDown is the night before. I'll go through what WWE is offering, then I'll go through our itinerary. So all kicks off Friday afternoon at 12 noon. It's going to be the Damian Priest 24 movie premiere, the documentary premiere at a local movie theater. And you can go and watch that premiere and then afterwards connect with Damian Priest as well as Rhea Ripley and Dominic. They'll be doing a panel discussion all about the film. Sounds awesome. That's a great way to kick things off. And then from there, that's at 12. I think when that wraps, at 5 o'clock is the WWE kickoff event. They've been doing these usually outdoors, right outside of the venue, at all the international events. Well, they're bringing that now to the United States events. Bless you, son. And at the end of the day, that is going to be right outside of where they're doing SmackDown. So that'll be at 5 o'clock. SmackDown then takes over from there. And one of the cool things about the kickoff event is it is open to the public. It was not the case for Money in the Bank. I guess they just couldn't find a venue for it. I thought they were trying to make this kind of a combo deal with if you were going to SmackDown, you could also go to the kickoff event. Smart on their mind, because I don't know how well the SmackDowns before these events sell. They don't feel super important, if I'm being honest. So I'll get into that more in a minute. But this time, the kickoff event is before SmackDown, and you can go open to the public for free, so that's exciting. And then SmackDown, and then after that, if that's not enough, if you're sitting there and you're like, I'm ready for SummerSlam, I'm ready to go, I can't sleep, Sami Zayn and Friends comedy show happening at the same venue that they're doing the Damian Priest movie premiere earlier that day. That starts at midnight. The last time he did this was at the Toronto Money in the Bank event, and brought some friends that included, but were not limited to, Cody Rhodes and Bayley. So opportunity to see some of those folks, and I'm sure it's a fun time. Then on Saturday, the Dead Man. The main event of the weekend before SummerSlam is, of course, the Dead Man, the One Dead Man show. Undertaker doing his one-man show, and should be a lot of fun. That's going to be at about, I think it's 12 noon or 1 p.m. on Saturday. And then obviously the culmination with SummerSlam. So tons of events, a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great weekend. So I will now get into our itinerary of what we're doing. I'm going to be arriving into Cleveland before anyone else. I'll be there very early tomorrow morning. So if you see me croupping around the airport or something, come over and give me the old, salute, or, come say hi. I'd love to chit chat. That being said, I'm getting there early. It honestly was the easiest flight for me to get out of Long Island here. Direct flight, boom, you're in Cleveland. and I'll take it in. I'll be able to go and check out some of downtown Cleveland. Hopefully I'll be able to maybe check into our home that we're getting. Should be a lot of fun, and maybe be able to take in some of the sights and sounds. Alex will be arriving later that day, so he and I will connect. Not too sure what we're going to do. Definitely going to, the plan is obviously we'll connect, be able to grab some grub, and get ready for the weekend. Now, there is a wrestling club deal that's going on in the city. It's basically set up as, you're going to have your wrestling themes you could jam out to. You can go there in wrestling cosplay. Mark Henry is doing a DJ set. I don't know if he's calling it the world's strongest DJ set, but he sure should if he's not. I'm not sure if we're going to hit that up. Part of me wants to, part of I think Alex wants to, but it's you have to pay a cover to get in. First off, I hate paying a cover to get in anywhere. And for the reason being that if the event stinks, you got to leave, right? Like, you get there, it's a ghost town, not a soul in town. You got one guy wearing a Shockmaster mask, and he's just kind of bobbing. No one else is around. At that point, you're just out of whatever the cover charge was. So for me, I'd much prefer, like, if you agree to go, you got to do 2-3 drink minimum, whatever it is. That won't be any issue for your boy here. But I don't think we're going to end up doing it. I think that it's too much of a hit or miss type event. Could be awesome, could be a complete miss. So we might just skip it altogether. But we're going to do something. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then Friday, Uncle Dizave and Randy will join us from the trip. They're coming in bright and early on Friday to the house that we have. It's going to be a lot of fun. Last year we had a house, and I think we just streamed SummerSlam through the entire year, and it was it was really nice. It was cool. We had SummerSlam the whole day and the whole weekend going. I think we started at the first ever SummerSlam all the way through SummerSlam 1999. I think by the time we wrapped things up, so it was just nonstop SummerSlam streaming, and that was fun. Kind of just to have on in the background while we kicked it. Did some podcasts. Alex obviously hosts a Talking Taker podcast, so we did a preview show, and as well as a wrap up. We ate some snacks. Nothing crazy. I think we got like the essentials. You need your donuts, your Sour Patch Kids, and then everything else. We kind of just got grabbing God throughout the weekend. So that'll be fun. I can't wait for that. Then we have some time set aside to check out some vintage toy shops, as well as some record stores. If you know any of those that we need to make sure we go out of our way to see, let me know in the old comments section. It would be appreciated, but we do have a cool itinerary already set up. Then around 4 o'clock, our parking opens up in downtown Cleveland. Randy, I believe, has a vehicle, so we'll be able to enjoy that. We are not going to the Damian Priest event. I do think it's cool, don't get me wrong. I think it'd be fun to watch the event with a bunch of wrestling fans and pop in for all the big high spots in the documentary. Reminds me of like the Condemned premiere from WrestleMania 23, where you just saw everything happen. And I remember I went to go see Fighting with My Family in theaters like right when it came out, and there's a piece in there where they show the Austin 3:16 speech from King of the Ring 1996, and in unison the whole entire theater said that along with Stone Cold. So I do think there's appeal there. And I do think Priest is one of the big stars of the weekend. I really do. They've kind of made him seem like a really big deal. So I think that'll be fun. If you go into that, I think it's going to be a great time. But we won't be. It's just, I think timing-wise, it doesn't really fit into what we're doing. Randy, I think, is going to be getting there a little before that. We have to rush. And I think we want some time to catch up. Haven't seen each other in person. Haven't seen Randy in person since last year at, SummerSlam proper. So, he and I have connected on a podcast, but we have not been able to see each other in person, so it'll be good to catch up. And then from there, we are heading into downtown Cleveland. Start Macklemore. We're going downtown, and the event that we have is going to be the Cleveland Guardians going up against the Baltimore Orioles. Last year we went to a Guardians game, and it was a free shirt Friday, so in addition to your admission to the game, you got a free t-shirt. They also had $1 hot dogs, $2 beers, which is unheard of. Right here in New York City, the Mets, in order to drive up admission on Tuesdays, have a $5 menu where you can get like a bunch of items for $5. In Cleveland, you get a $1 hot dog or a $2 beer. So we certainly took advantage of that this year and plan to do the same last year, and we plan to do the same this year. And then, if that's not enough, afterwards you get a post-game fireworks show that was incredible last year. I mean, this thing went on like 20-25 minutes, and it was just so good. We had such a great time with it, so really looking forward to seeing that. It should be a lot of fun. And one of the things I think that is exciting about it is, last year we ended up just, it was right after the game. They had about 20-30 minutes, and then they set up the fireworks. That went on another 20-25 minutes. So we don't know what time we're getting out of there, so we are also missing and skipping the Sami Zayn event. I think also the idea that it starts at midnight. Well, I'm a night owl and love it and would probably just bask in all of the insanity of it. I think this one I'll take a knee on, and I think it's going to be a little much for all of us to go ahead and do. Because the very next day, Saturday, is a loaded day for us. There's also 2 superstores in town. Didn't mention that earlier. There's one in downtown Cleveland, and then there's one at the Cleveland Browns Stadium. I think we will be heading to the one at downtown Cleveland, most likely at some point on Friday before the kickoff event. So loaded day. Saturday, I believe we're going to try to go back to the 27 Club. That is MGK's restaurant. Cleveland is an MGK city. Everyone loves Machine Gun Kelly in Cleveland, and his place is great if you're looking for a good coffee. Can't recommend that enough. That'll be on Saturday. And then we're going to be kicking our day off with the One Dead Man Show. This one, and I'll say WWE, yes, it's a loaded itinerary of events. This has not always been the case. The only thing they really announced before SummerSlam weekend, like way out, was SmackDown and the charity event they're doing. Other than that, there was nothing really they announced until like the weeks leading up. So we thought Undertaker Dead Man Show wasn't going to be coming to town because he didn't last year. And on his podcast, he's been pretty clear that he's not sure how many more of those he's going to do. So for me, I wanted to do this ever since I saw Alex go to the One Dead Man Show when he went to SummerSlam 2022. So the idea that this is my only chance to go. Let's not kid ourselves out. My wife's not going with me to go see the Dead Man. I don't know how many of my buddies, from back home here in New York would want to come to see the Undertaker do a show. So to be able to go and take that in and to be able to go with some of his biggest fans in the world is just awesome. What a cool idea to go with the Undertaker guys. Even some of my hometown friends like, that's not my gig, but seeing it with the Undertaker guys is pretty damn cool. So that'll be fun, and excited to see what that's all about and be able to see the Dead Man pretty up close and personal in an intimate setting is really what it's all about. So looking forward to that. That's at the same venue as the Sami event and the Damian Priest event that we're not attending, but we will attend this event to get us started for SummerSlam. Then after that, I think it's just grab a quick lunch and away we go over to SummerSlam. Unfortunately, we're not sitting together because I got a pair of seats for my wife and I. Randy got a pair of seats for he and Uncle Dave. And then when we came together, obviously now Alex is coming with me, so we'll watch the show together. And who knows, if we can move seats around, if it's not sold out, maybe we'll be able to connect. But I think going the event together, taking some of that in before the event, and obviously reconnecting afterwards is going to be a blast. And we're just so excited for it. Pumped to get down there and see everything. I think they've done such a good job with this show. In the beginning, I was like, Damian Priest and Gunther, that's going to be weird. God, Solo Sikoa in the world title match. Now I'm amped. I'm ready for all these matches. And I think all of them are pretty unpredictable. So should be a great card. Should be a lot of fun. On Sunday, I do head back a little later in the day, so I'm sure we'll reconnect, probably do a recap podcast. Gonna be vlogging every day. I don't know if I'm going to get them up every night. I don't know if I'm going to get them up in the morning. I don't know if I'm going to get them up next week. But keep it locked right here to Watch Along Wrestling. I will do my best to get it up as quick as I could when it comes to these vlogs and all the other footage that comes with my wrestling trips. We're doing it. SummerSlam 2024, here we come, right out of New York City and in Long Island, New York, so to speak. And I'm pumped. I'm ready for it. Come along for the journey. Log in, subscribe, do what you got to do. Let's have some fun. Should be a good time. The biggest party of the summer. Here we go.